Before we get into this, listen carefully because this is not a soundbite speech. This is the Prime Minister responding to accusations, defending Jamaica's disaster response, and explaining why he went to the G20 instead of standing in front of a camera handing out food bags. Watch this with context, not emotion.
Mr. Speaker, it is oftentimes not looked upon as being of any great import. One member I overheard saying, when God South Africa, for he should be here marshalling the recovery. And I shake my head. I shake my head. And the reason why is that I understand how our electorate and how even some of our intellectuals will think about it. And we didn't take the decision of going lightly. In fact, Mr. Speaker, up until a couple of days before, the decision was that I would not be going. But we discussed it and we debated it, and the offer was even extended for us to attend. And we decided that, given that that was the case, we attended. But I want to say this, Mr. Speaker, and it's very important to say. The measure of the recovery is not going to be in how fast you deliver the package of food. The measure of the recovery is going to be how fast you return electricity and water. How you kept the population safe from diseases and health risks and mentally positive in outlook. But the ultimate measure is going to be how you rebuild forward better. Not that you take up a shack that was destroyed in the hurricane and build back another shack. That is not what is going to be measured as success. And to do that, the time of the Prime Minister is not best used handing out a bag of this and a bag of that. The time of the Prime Minister is best used mobilizing the international community to deliver the billions of dollars that is going to be necessary to rebuild the country. So for those people who want to create mischief and mislead people, I leave my judgment to the Reconstruction. So this week, there you go. So in the weeks ahead, the government will prepare and circulate to all partners the detailed Jamaica Reconstruction and Resilience Program document, including costing, phasing, governance structures, environmental and social safeguards, and expected impact, that is in terms of job productivity, technology adoption. We'll convene a partner donor roundtable virtually and then in person to formalize the international support package with a view to securing commitments by the end of the first quarter of 2026. And then we will commence with the first initial tranche of early action projects under our framework to demonstrate momentum, accountability, and value for money to our partners as well as to the Jamaican people, and to ensure that Jamaica's disaster risk financing architecture is fully leveraged and our fiscal framework remains prudent, and that all assistance aligned with our national development priorities and climate resilience goals. Mr. Speaker, I wish to express gratitude to all the Jamaican delegation members and government officials who supported the work in South Africa. I also wish to thank the members of the diaspora who I got the opportunity to meet in South Africa. And let me also extend gratitude to all of our development partners and international institutions for their engagement. Most importantly, I wish to assure the House and the Jamaican people that this mission generated significant dividends, commitments, committed attention, to the highest level of global governance to Jamaica's needs, specific bilateral affirmations of partnership, and tangible forward momentum on Jamaica's key strategic priorities. I now commend this statement to the House and look forward to a collective move forward to resilience, prosperity, and an inclusive Jamaica. So my visit to the G20 to meet with all of these leaders all in one place was to secure funding over and above what we have already secured through the various systems that I have mentioned, from savings to prearranged debt, because the extent of the damage surpasses what we had prearranged and what we have set aside in savings and contingencies and insurance. So we need to go to the international community, make our case, garner friends, get influence in these international financial entities to look at Jamaica's case specially or give special consideration so that we can get access to more financing. That's the essence of it.
Just a follow-up. Could you indicate how much we have raised from the, I think it's the Support Jamaica website, in terms of funding, and whether we have been using those funds to deal with the ongoing responding to the emergencies, etc., and whether those funds are managed through the Ministry of Finance or an appropriate government agency, and whether the same rules that apply in terms of procurement, etc., for normal government-related funds apply to those that would be raised through the Support Jamaica website.
Technically, all the funds raised should go into our National Disaster Risk Fund. Some of them go to ADPEM, go to the account, to the ADPEM account. But all the funds are under the management and supervision of the regular fiscal and financial rules that pertain to any funding that the government of Jamaica has. The question is whether or not, so your question is, did they go into the central consolidated fund or did they go into a special fund? If they went into the consolidated fund, then they are at the disposal of the government. If they go into the disaster risk fund, then they can only be spent under certain conditions and for certain purposes. And so any fund that is related to disasters goes into the disaster risk fund, unless either the donor or the person lending specifies that it can be for budgetary support, which I haven't seen much of that recently. Now, the question that you're asking is, have we spent any of those funds on the relief effort? My understanding is that we have first utilized what we have in the contingency, meaning what we have set aside in the budget, and then what we have in the fund itself. So in other words, we are only spending so far Jamaica's money because that's immediate and you know what it is. The others it keeps coming. One day you hear it's X amount, then by tomorrow more comes in. So we'll soon know what the full picture is. I believe the ADPEM director at some point would have given some updates. I don't have those figures with me. Yeah, but I will undertake, member, that at the next time that I speak publicly, I will have the figures available as to exactly what has been raised from all the efforts. A global figure, I'll make those available. And just to be clear, Mr. Speaker, I know there's a lot of talk about government getting money and not using it, and we have to be so careful that these kinds of careless talk. Now, for the people, Mr. Speaker, I'm about to say something, and I just want to be clear. For the people who are saying it, and gaining influence on persons who don't understand, it is dangerous because there is a public that believes that somehow we sit here and we are trying to somehow take away money that has come for the relief of the people. let me say this clearly, Mr. Speaker. It would be morally reprehensible for anyone to be using any government resources in any way that has been given or borrowed for relief or any other action to mitigate the damage of this hurricane for any personal or private gain. And if there is any such thing happening, I don't have to wait for any other entity to ferret it out or find it. I will find it myself. Let it be on the record, Mr. Speaker, that this is not the first disaster that this government has had to address. There was never a question about the administration of resources for Hurricane Beryl. No donor said, what I gave, I don't know how it was accounted for. Let it be clear that for the entire administration of the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, where the government of Jamaica executed the largest social protection program in the history of Jamaica. There wasn't even one question of misappropriation of funds. So I want to be clear, Mr. Speaker, that those persons who wish to tarnish myself, tarnish the government, you're tarnishing Jamaica with a lie. I am not worried so much, Mr. Speaker, because wherever I travel and I meet with the international community, you know what they say? They say, you have done an amazing job. And I'm not joking, Mr. Speaker. I don't have to say it about myself. The international officers who come here representing the international agencies, they go, and I don't ask them to, they go and say it publicly. Direct contradiction of the nonsense that some people are saying. So I know that it hasn't done any damage at that level, because they know, they see, they understand, they know the systems in place, and they know what would have happened in other countries. And they have confidence in the government. But some of them who are saying these things are people who know better, and they mislead. They mislead the people. So let me be clear in this parliament that this government will manage this disaster without any form of corruption, misdirection, maladministration, malfeasance, misfeasance. We are going to manage this disaster with the highest level of probity and integrity and accountability. And it is necessary to do this, Mr. Speaker, because the scale of what we need in support from the international community can only be gotten if the international community feels that we have the institutional framework to ensure that whatever resources are made available are properly used. So one can only say that those people who are spreading those rumors are determined to bring down Jamaica. They do not support Jamaica. So as I stand here, Mr. Speaker, my statement is also a warning to us. Let's be clear, it is a warning to the government, but it is my duty also to dismiss and dispel falsehood.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I have really just one single question for the Prime Minister. Prime Minister, are you aware that your statement that the government will prepare and circulate to all partners the detailed Jamaica Reconstruction and Resilience Program document, including costings, phasing, governance structure, environmental and social safeguards, and all of that detail will ring hollow if you do not ensure that there is indeed a coordinated and joined up approach to what it's doing. Or persons will begin to ask, as they have started asking, why is it this early relief program has been so chaotic, disjointed, and partisan in how it has been carried out?
Mr. Speaker, what we have seen here and the question asked is a classic case of bringing the false notion onto a public platform. I can say here, Mr. Speaker, I can say here, and the member from Southwest, I call her my neighbor and my sister. And I try not to be harsh. I try not to be harsh. But she's saying that she can manage it. Mr. Speaker, the member from St. Andrew Southwest is not an expert in disaster recovery. The experts in disaster recovery have spoken, and they have spoken publicly on Jamaican media, on Jamaican radio. They have written documents, and they have said quite the opposite. In fact, they have commended Jamaica as a small island developing state for its response. The persons who peddle this falsehood, Mr. Speaker, seem to conveniently ignore that Hurricane Melissa was one of the strongest hurricanes to have hit Jamaica, not just in the Atlantic, but globally. It is in the top 3 strongest hurricanes. No other hurricane has done the level of damage to Jamaica in its recorded history than this one. None. Within hours after Hurricane Melissa, I picked up the phone and I called the chief, the acting chief of defense staff, the head of the NWA, the minister responsible for works, and I said to them, get the airport open.
11 o'clock that night.
They were out there in the night checking the road to make sure, checking with the necessary authorities to make sure that planes could land. The following day, we were able to open the airport. Mr. Speaker, in a few days, hold on, in a few days, we were able to open the Sangster International Airport. In 72 hours. Precisely. Now let me be clear on this, Mr. Speaker. Let me be clear. Roads were blocked. Communities cut off. I don't like to talk about what the equipment capability of the JDF is. Well, we don't have enough helicopters. We just don't. It took 3 days for us to get additional airlift from our American friends, and I want to thank them for making the airlift available. 3 days. When I landed in Black River the day after, I sent a team by ground. That team could not pass through Holland Bamboo to get to me. When I called to say where they were still with machetes trying to cut their way through. JDF was there with them trying to cut their way through. Never forget it, a lady said she walked 20 miles. I saw her coming in to Black River, and she said a neighbor of hers was out in the storm and a wall fell on him and he died. And we asked JDF, as soon as you're able to mobilize, go and find this body. I mean, I would say we had about 5 operational helicopters. Now you think about having just 5 helicopters 3 days after. How are you going to distribute that to deal with all the problems?
Yes.
The people who peddle that are unreasonable and they are lying. And they don't mean Jamaica anymore. Now, Mr. Speaker, I am the first one to say that in the immediate response, there was a scramble. We don't deny that because we have never had this before. Institutions, you know, funny enough, Mr. Speaker, the members from Westmoreland made a very strong case that the disaster response was slow and ineffective. And you know, I reflected on it. I did, because every criticism, I take it and I look at it, because if I am wrong, I am the first to admit. In the same way that when I looked at the response, I said in the first 3 days, we were all just trying to run around and trying to get things done. And you know why, Mr. Speaker? Because the member will tell you that the disaster manager for the parish fell ill, had a stroke, and that key person in the coordination of the response was not available. But I wouldn't only use that as a response, as an excuse. There were persons who lost their roofs, who were cut off, had no telecommunication, we couldn't find them. So to say that our response was slow, it's not just a lie, it's unfair. Let's make another point, Mr. Speaker. The Jamaica Defense Force stood up an operation, and we had to make strategic decisions about how we're going to use our resources. Strategic decision number one. If there are people who want to come to Jamaica, who have the experience, who have the equipment, and who have the know-how to do this thing, let them go quickly into the areas. So I see people saying, I don't see nobody from the government. The only person I see is from the Lacovia police station.
That is government.
How you think the aid got there? You think they just swam into Jamaica?
Yes.
The government opened the airport. The government cleaned the road. The government escorted them. Don't talk nonsense.
Yes.
To ensure that all the people who you see out there who want to give aid to Jamaica, that they are able to do it. You think they come here without ensuring that there are security guarantees? Who you think gives them the security guarantees? You think the stock that they have just move automatically, just materialize where they are? How many convoys you see moving with the security forces carrying them through? Don't talk nonsense about there was no government presence. I want to give commendation to the police. The JCF needs special recognition in this disaster, because with roofs blown off, no electricity, they stood up. When I went to Black River, the police station was destroyed, nothing, they didn't have any electricity. One of my first order of business was to secure generators. I gave 4 generators to police stations. I don't go out and make this public, because that's not my role or my job, but I did it just to make sure that there was a center of response.
Yes.
When we went into communities, we realized that all businesses were destroyed. And right now, we have stood up a program where we are supporting businesses re-emerging. The member from Eastern Westmoreland would know that we're going to help White House, that we have in White House both the Ministry of Investment and Commerce and the Factories Corporation. Their target, their response is to stand up businesses in those communities. No, man, they talk to you. Factories told me they talk to you. Factories told me they talk to you. Yes. I am sure he will speak to you later. But I just want to point out that Black River, I tasked UDC to help to clean up Black River, and there's a plan to clean up Black River. UDC will do it. And all of this is within effectively days. Now, bear in mind, Mr. Speaker, we're doing relief because what people see as managing the hurricane is carrying a bag of food from point A to point B. And everybody's out there giving out food and taking pictures, and that's fine, that's great. We thank you, we want you to continue to do that. What that does is to relieve the government of that task. But even so, the JDF, Mr. Speaker, is still packaging, has the capability to package 10,000 packages and send them out. And that's what they do constantly. They have a list of communities along with the Ministry of Labour and Social Security where every day they are out there giving. Nobody's out there taking pictures with them and saying how great they are doing. But let's think about it. 900,000 people affected. About 40,000 houses flattened. Just multiply that by 3. Let's say 150,000 persons have been impacted. You believe that, one organization here delivering package and one day is going to solve that problem? How long they're going to do it for? What will have to be stood up to be able to carry this through for months? So we have to be strategic. Build out the hubs, which we have done. Then we build out substations, which we have done. And that logistics hub, which move food through to stations and then to substations, that same logistics hub is going to move building materials to hubs and then into people. In the weeks to come, you're going to see the JDF transition from delivering packages. They will still have a presence, but they're going to transition now to help in the rebuilding of the houses for those people who are most in need. When this is studied, as it will be studied, when the history book is written, our response compared to others, and you can say compared to Katrina, compared to Irma, compared to others, Jamaica has done better than most. And I think it is unfair and unfortunate that there are those who would try to tear down Jamaica. When the history is written, we will know who are the ones who tore down Jamaica and who are the ones who are reconstructing Jamaica. Finally, Mr. Speaker, we have a very clear strategy to manage the disaster. Minimize human suffering. There's a lot of human suffering going on. I witnessed it personally, and you were on the front lines and you saw it. I saw the impact it had on you. And we cannot deny that there are people who are suffering. You have to figure, are you going to do a general strategy that moves everyone, or are you going to be responding to everyone that is crying out, and you look like you're disorganized? We build a strategy, and that strategy is working, which is to have the JDF marshal the humanitarian response in support and in parallel with our entertainers, our churches, and the general citizens who want to help. That's a very important part of managing the humanitarian issues. While that is going on, let us manage recovery. Now, recovery is let us get our electricity back up, let us get our water back up, let us get our telecommunications back up, let us open up our roads, and let us get our businesses back up. Let's focus on those 5 things. At 74% return of electricity island-wide, let's look at St. James, major corridor, Montego Bay, electricity has started to return. In Hanover, in Westport and some parts, Negril, electricity starting to return, and the focus is on getting back the electricity as quickly as possible. Recovery. Get water back, so as electricity comes back, water comes back, but even before that, we are putting in the generators, which builds the resilience. Let's get that up. Get the businesses back up. Recovery. The idea is that during Christmas and that period, we want to accelerate the recovery. And then we enter reconstruction. And reconstruction is not just building back what was there, it's building it forward. Let's use the disaster as a means to induce growth in the economy. So let's do things that are going to create growth opportunities.
Yes.
And what I did today, in my presentation today, which is a report on what we did in the G20, is about doing that other part of the response to the disaster, which is the reconstruction. So we announced how we're going to manage the reconstruction with the National Reconstruction and Resilience Authority. The next question is, how will it be funded? Well, that's what we have just done. We have just gone to the G20 to strategically try to find the funding so that the National Reconstruction and Resilience Authority can work. So your question that you asked, if you don't do, when we said we're going to provide the details of the plan, that's what it is. That's why we have the National Reconstruction and Resilience Authority. That is the detail of the plan. And you're not going to get the funding without having the details of the plan. And so that's what we have just said here. The details of the plan, so that our stakeholders can say, yes, this makes sense. Yes, this looks like something we can fund. Yes, there is the management, there is the structure, there is the oversight, there is the accountability. Let's fund it. And that is where we are. So thank you, member, for opening the door for me to answer your questions.
This statement wasn't casual. It wasn't rushed. And it definitely wasn't accidental. This was the Prime Minister drawing a line, not just politically, but institutionally. From the very beginning, he addresses a criticism many people have been repeating online. Why are you at the G20 when people are hurting at home? His response is simple but uncomfortable for optics-driven politics. Leadership during disaster is not measured by who hands out the most food bags. And that point matters because food relief is visible, emotional, and immediate. But it does not rebuild a country. Electricity, water, telecommunications, roads, and functioning businesses do. Those are the systems that stop suffering from becoming permanent. He explains that the decision to attend the G20 was not taken lightly. In fact, he admits that up until days before, the plan was not to go. That detail is important because it directly contradicts the idea that this was a vanity trip or political tourism. It was a strategic decision based on the reality that Jamaica's damage exceeded all pre-arranged savings, insurance, and contingency funding. And this is where many critics miss the bigger picture. Disaster insurance and emergency funds are designed for expected damage, not for one of the most powerful hurricanes in recorded history to hit a small island developing state. When that ceiling is breached, the only option left is international engagement. This is why the G20 mattered. He also reframes how recovery should be judged, not by how fast aid is disturbed, but by how quickly electricity returns, how water systems are restored, how public health risks are contained, how people's mental resilience is protected, and ultimately, how the country rebuilds forward, not backward. One of the strongest lines in the statement is when he says, "You don't build a destroyed shack by putting up another shack and call that success." That's a direct rejection of disaster cycles that keep people poor, exposed, and dependent. He is arguing for resilience, not reputation. When the issue of funding transparency comes up, the tone hardens, and deliberately so. He explains how disaster funds are managed, clarifying that funds flow through the disaster risk framework. Spending is governed by existing fiscal rules. Donor conditions determine how money can be used. Jamaica has so far used its own resources first for speed and certainty. Then comes the warning. It states on record that any misuse of disaster resources will be morally reprehensible, and goes further by saying he would personally pursue it if it existed. That is not casual language. That is a reputational firewall aimed at both domestic critics and international partners. And here is the key thing many overlook. This speech wasn't only for Jamaicans. It was also for donors, lenders, and global institutions. And global institutions watching how Jamaica defends its governance. He reinforces that point by referencing Jamaica's track record, including the COVID-19 response, where the largest social protection program in the country's history was executed without a single confirmed case of misappropriation. That matters in a world where aid confidence determines access to capital. When critics claim the relief effort was chaotic or partisan, he pushes back with operational detail. Helicopters, blocked roads, damaged airports, limited airlift capacity, and the sheer scale of destruction. Nearly 1 million people affected. Tens of thousands of homes damaged or destroyed. These are conditions where perfection is impossible. What stands out is that he does not deny early confusion. He acknowledges it, but he refuses the narrative that the response was negligent or incompetence. Instead, he explains that strategic decisions were made to open airports, secure roads, and enable NGOs, churches, and international partners to move aid efficiently, even if government presence wasn't always visible on camera. And that leads to one of the most controversial but revealing moments of the speech. Those who spread these rumors are determined to bring down Jamaica. That line is not about silencing criticism. It's about consequences. Because when misinformation spreads, it doesn't just hurt politicians. It undermines investors' confidence, donor trust, and Jamaica's ability to rebuild. The Prime Minister repeatedly returns to one central idea. You cannot secure billions in reconstruction funding without credibility, structure, and accountability. That's why he emphasizes the National Reconstruction and Resilience Authority, detailed planning documents, governance frameworks, environmental safeguards, and donor coordination. This is how serious reconstruction is done, not through vibes or viral moments. In the end, this wasn't a defensive. It was a strategic one. It was meant to reassure Jamaicans, warn political actors, and signal to the international community that Jamaica is prepared, organized, and trustworthy, even under extreme pressure. Whether you agree with the government or not, one thing is clear. This response was not improvised. It was calculated, detailed, and aimed at the long game. Jamaica's recovery, reputation, and future stability. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think this explanation makes sense? Or do you believe the government should have handled the relief differently? Drop your thoughts in the comments, but let's keep it factual, not emotional.